The number of Americans struggling with medical debt has shot up. And unfortunately, we still have both dominant political parties shilling for the private healthcare industry, which has caused this problem to begin with. To make matters worse, there's an entire financial industry that's making buku bucks off of servicing the debt that Americans have as a result of these medical bills. Now, this study was done by the Kaiser Family Foundation in collaboration with NPR, and here's what we found. More than 100 million people in America, including 41% of adults, are beset by a healthcare system that is systematically pushing patients into debt on a mass scale. So if you look a little deeper, what do those numbers entail? Well, in the past 5 years, more than half of US adults report they've gone into debt because of medical or dental bills, according to this Kaiser Family Foundation poll. A quarter of adults with healthcare debt owe more than $5,000, and about 1 in 5 with any amount of debt say they don't expect to ever pay it off. And it might be because of how much that debt is and what their other financial obligations entail. As you guys know, wages have not kept up with inflation since the 1970s. Americans have been struggling. We haven't even increased the federal minimum wage since the beginning of the Obama administration. It currently sits at $7.25. Couple all of that with a privatized for-profit healthcare system, and you have a recipe for disaster. And what are the impacts? As you can imagine, Americans end up giving up other basic necessities, other basic needs in order to pay their medical bills. So I want to take you to this graph that shows you what Americans are giving up just to be able to afford healthcare or pay their medical bills. The majority of respondents say that they cut spending on food, clothing, and other basics. About 63% of them say that. About 48% say that they used up all of their savings in order to pay for their medical bills. 40% have taken on extra work. I mean, doesn't this look wonderful? Isn't it so great when you let the markets decide how much healthcare should cost and whether or not you should get the care that you need? It's so awesome when you have all these options. Now, obviously, it's not awesome. I'm being sarcastic. And oftentimes we're critical of the right wing in America that would like to privatize literally everything. But they have gotten a lot of assistance from corporate Democrats on this matter, including Democratic leadership like Nancy Pelosi. Let's watch.
I'm not a big fan of Medicare for all. I mean, I welcome the debate. I think that we should have health care for all. It is expensive. Who pays is very important. What are the benefits that come in there?
Not a fan of a single payer healthcare system that would have saved more than 330,000 lives during the coronavirus pandemic. Not a big fan of that, not a big fan of that. But it's okay, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi has some companionship on this matter, namely the President of the United States, Joe Biden.
The question was asked whether we support eliminating private health insurance. Some said yes, I said absolutely not. I believe we have to protect and build on Obamacare. That's why I proposed adding a public option to Obamacare as the best way to lower costs and cover everyone. I understand the appeal of Medicare for all, but folks supporting it should be clear that it means getting rid of Obamacare. And I'm not for that, but I'm surprised that so many Democrats are running on getting rid of it.
Yeah, Obamacare has been around for decades now, and we have literally 100 million Americans in medical debt as a result of this privatized healthcare model. So I think I'd rather have Medicare for all. Cenk.
Yeah, so let me explain how full of crap Joe Biden is. These are facts. So first of all, he said he was gonna do a public option. Never introduced it, never even talked about introducing it, never meant to introduce it. He was lying the entire campaign. He talked about lowering drug prices on the campaign trail. He proposed it, wink, wink, in one of the bills, and it was Democrats, corporate Democrats, not Republicans. Yes, all the Republicans are opposed to it, but it was corporate Democrats that said no. We showed it on the show. Every Democrat that said no to lowering drug prices took massive amounts of money from drug companies and insurance companies. Okay, so it was his party that sold it out. Did he fight it? Not one bit, not at all. Okay, now Obamacare. Look, we told you it covered more people. That's true, it does, that's its one upside. But it's generally a fraud, to be honest. It now, as NPR explains, and great job by NPR here, give credit where credit is due, that it's drove up prices. Why? Because of the same thing we said during the Obamacare debates, all the way back then, we were on the air. We said there's no price controls. And a bunch of Democrats lied through their teeth, and everyone in media lied. Oh no, they say there's drug controls. I'm like, look, I read it, there's no goddamn price controls. And now guess who was right and who was wrong? There's no price controls. And they've been jacking it up over and over and over again until we're swimming in debt. I mean, look guys, there's the medical debt that Anna just told you guys about that we all know about. So at least 1 in 5 Americans, that's 20% right there. But another 20% are actually on installment plans, so they don't go under debt, okay?
They don't fall under debt.
Yeah, so they're not recorded in the debt category in there. So that's installment plans. That's another 20% of the country that's on an installment plan with a hospital or a healthcare provider. Okay, there's another 10% who borrowed from a friend. They're not counted either. There's another 17% that put it on their credit card bills. They're not counted either. Jesus Christ, that's almost the whole country. We told you before in other stories, 50% of Americans cannot afford a $500 new debt that they get on anything, okay? Well, of course, any medical issue is gonna pile on more than that. That's why, boom, you knock out half the country before we even start the conversation. Obamacare was originally Romney Care. It was literally Mitt Romney's Republican plan that they passed in Massachusetts. It was designed by the Heritage Foundation, a very deeply right-wing think tank. It's a giant corporate plan to hand over everyone to private insurance and let them run amok. And then they told you it was historic. No, we need universal health care like every other developed nation. In this country, we are literally killing people for profit.
And I have to mention, oftentimes when we talk about why we have such a broken healthcare system in America, we focus on the lobbying that takes place by the private health insurance industry. But we should also take into account that the financial industry makes a killing off of servicing the loans or the debt associated with medical bills. So I want to just give you those details as well, because they looked at that. This was a very comprehensive study. They did a great job. So NPR writes, now a highly lucrative industry is capitalizing on patients' inability to pay. Hospitals and other medical providers are pushing millions into credit cards and other loans. These sick patients with high interest rates, while generating profits for the lenders that top 29%. And I remember needing, going to the dentist. At the time I had no dental insurance at all. I have dental insurance now, which isn't that great, to be honest. Dental insurance overall is terrible in America as well. But I remember not being able to afford the work I had done on a cavity. And you know what the dentist told me? Open a Care Credit account. It's a credit card specifically for medical debt. The interest rate was astronomical. So yeah, there's a financial industry component to it as well.
Okay guys, so now more devastating facts for you guys. First of all, to the point that Anna was making, the entire healthcare industry makes enormous profits overcharging us. So the other developed nations, just for God's sake, look it up. For God's sake, look it up because of the brainwashing that corporate media does. They pay half, I know it sounds unbelievable, they pay half of what we pay and they have better results and they don't have any medical debt. None, zero, because they have universal coverage. It's our healthcare industry literally kills people for profit. Let me explain what I mean by that. 45 to 60,000 people a year die because they don't have health insurance, okay? And why don't they have health insurance? Because they can't afford it. They can't afford the premium, deductible, et cetera. And our system says, if you cannot pay the ransom to this healthcare insurance industry that serves no purpose and does not even exist in other countries, if you don't pay them the ransom, we're gonna let you die. And we do, we let a stadium full of people die every single year. But on top of that, the banks make money off of servicing that debt. And now there's a whole new industry that existed before but now applies to healthcare of debt collectors. Now the debt collectors take it and then they brutalize you to get the money back because that's their business model. And the insurance industry knows it, all the politicians know it. They're sending you to deal with those thugs, literal thugs. And they go, so what? They donate to my campaign, which leads to another point. Guys, on cable news, none of them know your pain. They're all millionaires. They don't know a single person that has medical debt. To them, that's why they're like, I don't get it. What's the big deal? The stock market's up. Everybody, our advertisers are happy. Everyone at the cocktail party's happy. What are you guys all upset about? We definitely shouldn't have universal health care coverage. How are you gonna pay for that? You schmucks, you liars, it costs less. It's a verifiable fact. Last one, 66% of the country, let alone the about 20% that just flat out can't get any kind of health care coverage. 2/3 of the country say they have avoided going to the doctor because of costs. Well, obviously people are gonna die if you don't go to the doctor because you're worried about costs, and it's gonna ruin their health. Obviously, we're literally killing ourselves so that these rapacious industries can make more money, billions of dollars, and our gross, sick, corrupt politicians are all in their pockets, both Republicans and Democrats, lying Democrats like Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi.